Welcome to Exit Strategy Part 2. We're talking about planning and communication tools. The main question is really, how do we get our business running well in this new normal? Well, it depends on the size and the type of your business, but using the correct tools, the right tools, will certainly help in this situation. With a complete lockdown, rules and directives from governments have been reasonably clear. But as these restrictions are lifted, there's the potential of being a lot more confusion within your organisation and within the population in general. We need to communicate well and communicate clearly. We want to avoid mass confusion within our organisation, suppliers and customers. Different geographical areas could have different lockdown rules, and we need to communicate. Hello, hi Pete. Yeah. Lockdown west of the city. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll call round now. Okay. So do we use existing tools or new tools to build the strategy and communicate it? Tools that we could be using, certainly for smaller businesses, business continuity planning template tools are really good. You should already have some of those. Added level of usage or functionality you might need. So have a look at that with the increased usage or the increased uses that you are needing the tools for. Let me know if you need any help on finding some of those. For larger businesses, dedicated business continuity planning tools are probably a must if you don't have them already. For communication, smaller organizations, we're talking about 100 staff or less, you could probably survive with more ad hoc tools and methods using social media communication tools like WhatsApp, email, phone, ad hoc phone call trees, things like that. Do work on the smaller side of things, but know the risks and the limitations, especially with some of those social media tools. I've talked about it before on other videos, and just have a look and catch those if you can. Make sure you have private contact details. In this situation, you're going to need to get hold of people at home, so make sure you have up-to-date private contact details. There's obviously other implications around having private contact details that I've discussed and will discuss in other videos. Larger businesses, and that's kind of 100 staff, 100 employees and larger, really need to be looking at integrated, automated crisis communication tools. They're easier to control and administer. They're easier to keep contact information up to date. All key things to make sure you've got in this situation. Much better in terms of making sure your data is protected, the data of your employees is protected, and it's much faster to communicate and get responses. A lot of these tools are two-way communication tools, quicker and easier to get responses from your key stakeholders. Yeah, no, you're already there. No, your branch is locked down. Can you get to the central branch? Hold on a sec. Can you answer that?
Hello, your branch is locked down.
Yeah, can you call your team? Okay, thanks.
Hello.
So what measures should I be taking to communicate to my staff, my stakeholders, board members, suppliers and customers, for example, about these rapid and fluid changes? So this really is a typical use case for a crisis or incident management communication system, or emergency notification system as it's also known. So if you've got branches dotted around a country and there's regional lockdowns in the future where you need to get different messages to different teams within the organisation, make sure you're grouping your staff in the system by different geographical location, by different team, and potentially by whether they're normally working from home or working in the office under the slightly eased restrictions. You can also use an emergency notification tool to get data back from your staff very quickly. So you could send them a message saying, if you're able to come into the office today, press 1 on your keypad. If you're unable to come into the office today, press 0 on your keypad. You can get that data back in seconds and then potentially manage the whole situation after consulting that data that's come back in from your emergency notification system. So we have a user in Singapore using F24, our crisis management communication tool. They are making ventilators for the COVID-19 crisis, and they have migrant workers coming from Malaysia that don't have company email addresses or company mobile phones. So they are putting private emails, private mobile phone numbers into the system and making sure they communicate about any lockdowns, any issues with commuting from Malaysia that day, and making sure that everyone's keeping well informed, safe, and present on the production line, which is obviously key in making sure that the manufacturing of the ventilators is continuing. Hi Pete, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I've only called about half of them so far. Oh, it's not locked down now. Okay, all right, I'll call them back. Okay. So how do I ensure the safety of the staff, but also help them feel safe once they're back into the normal work environment? So obviously the standard practices for hygiene, for COVID-19 apply, physical distancing, etc. But I also think that organisations really do have a duty to monitor any potential reinfection or suspected infection within the organisation and then remedy that with any measures or lockdowns that they need to put in place. Lastly, I think that there are also ways of having an alert that can be sounded by any staff member if they think that there's an issue when it comes to hygiene or when it comes to protective equipment or when it comes to someone looking like they might be infected within the organisation. They can call a number and then that will trigger an alert within the organisation, within the crisis management communication system, to alert a member of the crisis team to implement or remedy the situation. So that's it for this video. Tune in again soon. Thanks very much.